Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Aidan Sheely. I'm Vice President of User Experience here at Cvent. Welcome to half the room. Congratulations. I'm just going to give a quick, brief view of Cvent, user experience at Cvent. I don't know why the projector turned off. We do have a TV over here. What else we got going on? We can try to roll the TV so everyone can see. I don't know what happened to the big screen there. You know how? Go ask Miles. Miles can. You're all by yourself. We'll see if he turns the. Miles a timeout. Yeah, thank you. Oh, yeah, we're good. All right, it's all working now. The magic of 7 p.m. I'm just gonna go quick through. All right, now we're back to another mic. Just have a quick couple slides here to talk about user experience here at Cvent. Thanks for listening to me rant about random things that you all don't really care. No, it's not. Okay, so let me fire through a couple of these slides real quick. What does Cvent do? Cvent is a leading provider of software for event management, events like this, all the way to events like Figma runs. 10,000 people on site, 100,000 people virtually. We build software that allows for events to happen. The good news is we also own the supplier side, right? Hotels and venues that want to run and host events, we help manage those as well. So we get the supply and demand side of both sides of the event lifecycle. I figured I'd just talk about our ethos here at Cvent and user experience. And it starts with me 27 years ago when I was a developer becoming a designer. And it started with simple and usable. And simple and usable, I think, is the only way to design stuff. But you got to have both of them, right? You can't just have simplicity and you just can't have usability. Simplicity would be a unicycle. Usable is a bicycle, right? You need to have a combination and the ability to do both. And about 10 years ago, I added the word clear and I fell in love with words again. And I thought clarity was super important to design. And being able to bring language into applications was really, really important. And I thought I was so cool. I designed a t-shirt. It said simple, usable, and clear. And I thought, oh man, it's so awesome. And I wore it all the time. And I realized what are the first three letters of simple, usable, and clear are. And the suck methodology came out. And for 10 years, I thought about that K word a lot. What could I add as a K word to bring the suck methodology full circle here? And I'd use words like knowledge, and it just didn't feel as strong as simple, usable, and clear. And 2 years ago, I was coming back from an event, and ChatGPT was all the rage, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna ask AI what the K word is." And I just walked through the whole story that I just walked through with all of you about simple, usable, and clear. And ChatGPT got it right on the first go, and that is kind. If we build software that is simple, usable, clear, and kind, and we take accessibility into consideration, and the world's dynamics into consideration, we build software that brings kindness into our software. We can pretty much build anything. You can always add complexity over time, but kindness is pretty great. We have 6 practices inside of our user experience team. We are not just product design, but this is our product design team and managers that run our product design group. Brendan Marnell, Doug Brashear, Doug Havens, and Ajay Kumar are all of our product design leaders. Everyone in this room understands what product design is. I don't have to explain this one. Research. Research is run by Stacy Van Eiderstein. Research, again, another practice that should not require any explanation. But maybe the next 4 might. Content design is run by Kelsey. Anybody have an idea of what content design does? Oh, I got a hand back here. Yeah, voice and tone, big time voice and tone. If you abstract out what Kelsey and Kelsey's team does is really looking at things like data hierarchy, right? What's important on a card? Why is that structure in that way? Right? And they're thinking about the language of that. And if you take that to the outside level, we're talking about American English, right? That brings me to localization. Anyone want to throw a hand up for localization? Not Tyler. I know Tyler knows the answer. Our localization team go ahead. That's right. Right. We translate our software into 32 languages, right? And so again, we start with American English, and then that is brought down through those other 31 locales. Accessibility, Steve Cutchins. Anybody want to throw out accessibility? Come on, you can do it.
What CAG?
Yeah. Right. We have a whole team that focuses on accessibility, how people with disabilities use our products, right? About 22% of our users have some sort of disability. So we want to make sure that we are inclusive for everyone. Again, talking about that kindness. Beta program. Beta program. Some of these people don't even know in this room that the beta program is becoming a part of the UX team. It's starting January 1 inside of Cvent. Ashley Phelps, who will be a senior manager of user experience, coming over from where the program is run today. But anybody want to know what we do from a beta program standpoint? So everyone here in UX has all the answers. We design really great things, and then we hand it off to our development team, our PM teams, and how much actually gets built? Anybody? Can be. So again, we generally do that at the beginning with our research teams. This beta program is to make sure that our software is reaching to a minimum, value when we go out to our users. Make sure that people are actually want to use it and are going to use it. So Ashley's team takes care of that. Now, we design something, hand it off, it's getting built. Great. Now we have delays. We have more delays. Most of the time, about 30% of what we actually design gets built, right? Ashley's team comes in on the after and says, "Hey, we actually talked to users, and you actually need to go from 30% to 40%. And these are the 4 things that you need to build." Now, that's fun because we actually already told them that they had to build that, and they didn't want to listen. So I get to own both sides of the development process. So it's great. I'll talk about orbs real quick. Orbs are how we're organized here at Cvent from a design standpoint or from a UX standpoint. We have about 130 people in our UX team here at Cvent. Orbs give us the ability to work in much smaller teams on much smaller areas. It's really just sprint teams, but it's really just sprint teams from a design perspective. So I was just talking about the types of roles we have. So we have 3 or 4 product designers in every single orb, a researcher, a content designer. They all work in those individual units together to build our software. And we have 24 different orbs here. And you can see that structure here. Why do we do all this orbing? It's really about collaboration. A lot of companies embed their designers or their UXer into an individual sprint team, and that results in that individual designer just focusing on that. And if that designer leaves the company, all of that knowledge is gone with that individual person. So we focus on building our own teams that work with sprint teams. And so the superstructure ends up being a little bit of an orb works with. So if you take the UX orb here with multiple people, works with 3 to 7 PMs, works with 3 to 7 sprint teams. That means something Diana here might work with sprint team A 1 week, but might work with sprint team B the next week. You don't really need that. And then Figma, I'll just give a couple of stats here on Figma here at Cvent. The average designer or the average UXer at Cvent spends 6.5 hours a day inside of Figma. It's pretty cool. Like that's their life. Congratulations. Thank you all for all the hard work. We average about 1,200 files being touched a month, 14,000 average versions per month. So we have 14,000 different versions of those 1,200 files happening every month. And we are at 37.9 million per today lines of activity in the Figma backend of everything that we're doing every single month. So a lot of crazy stuff going on. Any questions? Yeah.
How do you track activity in Figma on the back end? What's the goal of that number for the future?
Well, there's no real goal of the number. It's just a big number. Now, some people in this room who work for Cvent and work in the UX department understand that I have a little pet project that I like to do for fun, and that's, hey, let's look and see how much people are actually using Figma, right? We spend a lot of money on Figma every single year, and we want to make sure people are using it to the levels that you're using it. And so the average developer is only in it for about an hour and a half a day, right? And so we want to track dev usage because we're paying for dev mode. We want to track product designer users, usage, research usage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I've worked with Figma to build our own dashboards that allow for us to have some information. Now, again, I use it to abstract out. Like I could go look at them in the system. I don't ever do that, right? But he's listed as a product designer. He's also listed as a band 2 because I want to look at how our junior designers are using Figma versus our principals, right? And so I could probably show you some cool stuff, but I don't want to scare them. So, but yeah, we use all of that data from the activity logs that allow for us to know, basically what's going on. Anybody can do it. It does not have to be enterprise. If you are an admin of your account, you can go underneath activity. You can download the CSV. You can actually write your own attachments to the APIs that they have, and then you just have all the data. Yeah. Amon's all scared now. He's like, I'm only working like 3 hours a day. All right, I'm all done.
Yeah, so thanks again. For those of you who have, oh, it's already recorded. Yeah, if we've not met, I'm Reony, co-founded with Zosha in the back there, if you want to wave Zosha, almost 6 years ago now. And yeah, Locofy reached out to us, and it's also their first Friends of Figma event, which is really surprising. So I'm honored to have them as their first. And they also had a booth at Config this past year. And for those that don't know, they're actually in Singapore, so it's 7 a.m. their time. So really thankful for all their energy and time with the months of meetings and tackling the time zone difference. And we do have virtual folks, so I thought it'd be cool if we do a quick wave to them as well. And couple housekeeping items. So I mentioned the mics on the desk so remote folks can hear you, including this one. And then we will have Q&A, so you might have seen the Slido QR code. We'll put a link to it in the chat if it makes it easier as well. So we can queue those up, and there'll be some opportunities for Q&A that Honey and Mark will present. And for Zoom folks, if there's a question that maybe we want to touch on more, just raise your hand or request to be unmuted, and we'll unmute you. And yeah, I think that's it. And I do want to say a very quick thank you to Aidan and Cvent for hosting us, and my fellow teammates, and also Allison and Bruna, who are helping check people in. And I do want to say a very big thank you to Tyler, who him and I used to work together just around the corner for quite a while. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have made the connection to have this opportunity. So thanks, Tyler. And with that, yeah, I want to welcome Honey and Mark to take it away.
Hi, guys. Very good evening and very good morning from Singapore. Thank you so much again to Cvent, to Reony, Zosha, Friends of Figma community to have us here. I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Please let me know when you guys can see this slide with the Slido information. Yep. Awesome. So we will have the Slido information again flashed out throughout the presentation. It'll take about 20 minutes of your time. So my name is Honey. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Locofy.ai. We are a Singapore-based company. We've been around for almost 3 to 4 years. And yeah, this is our first Friends of Figma event. And we're very grateful to be part of this. I'm joined by my colleague, Mark, who's a product manager in the team, also based in Singapore. And we're here to talk about the role of design engineer. And I think in the previous presentation, there were certain points made that hit the chord for us, obviously, because there were points made around the beta program team, what it does, and oftentimes what is designed either gets delayed or doesn't get built. And we felt the same. We've been builders for the last 10 to 15 years, and a few years ago, we started feeling that there has to be a new role, and there's an opportunity for the new role of a design engineer. And we believe that it'll be one of the fastest growing roles in the years to come. So before we talk about the role and why we believe, we want to just talk about the market forces that make us believe that there's a need for something to be done in this area. So obviously, web and app development has been growing like crazy, and there's no signs for it to stop or to slow down. I think for people, most of the people in the room, I would assume have been building for at least 5 to 10 years. I think in 6 or 7 years ago, there was a point where we started feeling this real pain for the need of talent and how difficult it was getting to get both design and engineering talent. And that was because maybe a decade ago, only tech companies were hiring software engineers. But I think somewhere around 2016, 17, there was a switch where, as of today, obviously 70% of software engineering jobs are actually non-tech companies. Everyone wants to be a tech company, whether you're a bank, insurance company, an automobile company. Everyone's trying to reinvent themselves as a data and a tech company. And because of that, we've seen this demand and supply imbalance, and quite a heavy imbalance, I would say, because in the US alone, about 3 or 4 years ago, for every 600,000 jobs that required a computer science graduate, there were only 75,000 new computer science graduates available. And that's why you must have seen the engineering and even designer and product management salaries have gone through the roof. During COVID, I think it got amplified. But on the ground as builders, we know despite the salaries and everything, there's this high pressure of building faster. I don't think there is even one company in the world, even spending billions of dollars on tech, who's happy or who doesn't want to move faster. And on the other side of the pie, there's hundreds of companies and thousands of companies that are losing billions of dollars in lost revenue because they cannot digitize fast enough. They cannot just build fast enough. They can maybe hire engineers by increasing budgets, but then they keep losing them because there's always a better offer out there. And we felt this pain as well. My background was into product management. So I was a chief product officer in 3 startups. And my co-founder, who's not on the call today, but he was one of the best, most gifted engineers I've ever met. We felt the pressure. We were burning the midnight oil, working in a startup 6-7 days a week, sometimes 16 hours. And with every new engineer we brought in, we felt the pressure would go down, but then we had to build more. With every new engineer we brought in, there was the pressure to build faster and build even more. And I think some of these problems you would probably relate with. You could be working in an agency, you could be a freelancer, you could be part of a big company or a small startup. Management or your clients always want development done faster and cheaper, and rightly so, because one of the competitive edges you have as an innovator is how fast you can launch. Can you launch it before your competitor, before your competition? And despite so much money being spent on development and product development and design, you could probably count on your 2 hands how many products you actually really enjoy the experience on. So a lot of money is being spent, but most companies are not happy and they want better. And we ourselves as product managers, designers, and engineers realized that point earlier made about, these beautiful designs are done, but then not many of them actually make it to the users, or they get delayed. That's because the process of going from designs, handing over, and then writing the front end code, we believed could be redone and revolutionized for the next 10 years. So here's a scenario. I'm sure you guys can relate to it. The start of the project, I would say, is probably the best feeling. You could be a founder who has maybe, after years of contemplating, quit their job because they believe they have an idea that could change the world, and if you want to go and do something about it. You could be a product manager, a design head or a design leader, who has spent maybe quarters, potentially sometimes even years, trying to get your ideas approved by management, and you've just gotten that approval, and you feel you could really have some impact, massive impact. So you get together, whether it's a fig jam or old school, whiteboard or piece of paper, you start putting your ideas and start doing some wireframes. You start visualizing your ideas, and it starts becoming even more exciting. That's where you generally bring in the best designers of your team, and very quickly you see those ideas turn into some kind of reality. You can finally touch and kind of like feel the product and visualize it, and everyone's looking at the same vision. And this is where it's at the peak of excitement. You just want to get this into the hands of your users as soon as possible. But this is where I think, this is where it all starts going a little downhill, because thousands of iterations later, the product that gets built oftentimes does not match what you had in mind, and you've just spent maybe 3 months, sometimes 6 months, even seeing this product itself. If you have gifted engineers, it probably doesn't happen as much, but it's still expensive and time consuming to get to the product you want. And by the end of the project, oftentimes, you start getting deflated. Engineers and designers are going back and forth, and probably, tensions start rising. And at this point of time, you have this, management is obviously pushing you to launch faster, and you're left in this position of, what do I do? Do I launch the product, which I'm not happy with? Do I keep going back and forth and polishing it? And oftentimes, when in this state of being deflated, you have to go back and redo everything again for the next project. So we felt this. We've been part of this chaotic process. We've also over the years figured out how to get out of this. I was lucky to work with a very talented team. The problem with this chaotic process, though, is that projects get delayed. Delays often mean expensive, and this back and forth between developers and designers causes a lot of frustration, and we think it's inefficient. And oftentimes, like I said before, the compromise is let's launch something we're not all happy with. Just because we've already delayed, let's cut our losses, or let's go back and do it again, which again, goes back to becoming expensive. And oftentimes, when you launch the product, it's so delayed that maybe it doesn't have that impact, or a competitor does it before you. So again, being part of this process and being part of this, chaos, we started feeling a few years ago that there must be an opportunity there as well. I'm sure you've seen this old, I think, Chinese saying that says, in the midst of chaos, there's also opportunity. And we felt that there was an opportunity for designers to really, step up, take this opportunity and help their teams, help their companies, and also help themselves. So we feel that the role within the umbrella of designs and designers, potentially even under the front-end engineers umbrella, there will be the new role of design engineers. I think some people may be already aware of this. The way we envision it, at least, is that when designers are doing the designs on Figma or any other design tool, there should be a possibility of building the UI and the front end together, or almost as close to real time as possible, rather than having to wait months. And in doing so, we also let the developers solve the more complex engineering problems, which are more to do with backend or the backend of the front end itself. We feel this will also make the handover process very efficient. You hand over code rather than handing over, design files and assets, and having to explain it to engineers on how things behave. Potentially will reduce documentation significantly, and would make the whole process more collaborative rather than more, back and forth, that ping pong sort of a game that designers and engineers often have to play, and product managers get involved trying to be peacemakers. And I remember doing that for a long time myself. And at the end of the day, we all care about bringing our ideas to life as soon as possible. We think at the end of the day, faster launch is going to help each individual part of the project and eventually the company. And it also gives designers more control of the end user experience, rather than, I do really good designs, but what gets actually sent out to users doesn't really, it wasn't really what I envisioned. And we feel that would be in the realm of this role of the design engineer. Not just that, our team felt that this role would need the right tools and need the right platforms and workflows to be really effective at their jobs. And that's why we built Locofy. We started building it in early 2021, when I think most people didn't necessarily think that, design models and converting designs to code could be a thing. But I think today it sounds more of a possibility. So for us, the ideal state was very simple. As soon as you do the designs, those designs should actually be converted into becoming a fully functional UI almost instantaneously, and that would help you save time, money, and also launch faster and give designers more control. So Locofy solves exactly that problem. We basically convert your designs into UI code. We're trying to basically own as much as possible in the front end space, but that starts with the UI itself. We exist as a plugin within Figma, and we convert your designs into Next.js code, React, Vue, Angular, HTML, CSS, Gatsby. We're adding more web frameworks as well, and we also do it for React Native, and Flutter, Swift, and Kotlin are coming soon. If I were to zoom out and look at in which parts of your workflow can Locofy help, we connect with your design tool, your own design system as well, if you've built your own custom components. And we also support UI libraries. And once the code is generated, you can select your code settings, Tailwind, TypeScript, your own Tailwind config as well. we are an AI first product, so the results are not always going to be perfect. So we give you some tools to review and perfect the code. And once done, it can be easily pushed into your GitHub or pulled into VS Code, or even just copy pasted or just exported as a raw file itself. So we are not a no-code solution by any means. We are here to empower designers and engineers, i.e. ourselves. So yeah, I'm going to now pass on to Mark. For the next 10 minutes, he'll give you a quick demo. If you haven't joined the Slido link, you can do that now. And I'll be here to answer questions at the end of the presentation.
Yeah, I forgot to mention it to in-person folks. Give them a minute to scan. It's also at the back of the room here once that goes away. So leave your Q&A there, and then we'll get to all of them at the end.
Cool. Yeah, I hope everyone got that. I'm going to pass on to Mark now. Mark, maybe you can also share the Slido link again once.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Thanks, Honey. So yeah, we'll flash the Slido QR code again after the demo as well. But for now, let me go ahead and share my screen. Alrighty. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is show you guys a quick demo of how Locofy works. I've got my Figma app opened up here. And you'll see an example design that I have over here. It's a website with 4 different frames. If I zoom into the home page over here, you'll see that it should look pretty familiar. It looks like an Airbnb style website. You've got your search up here and a grid of cards down here showing all the available accommodations. So if I zoom out again, you'll see that there are some prototype links as well. So this card is linking to the subpage over here, showing the property details. And we've also got a pretty simple sign up and sign in page over here. So this would take a front-end engineer a couple weeks, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks to code this from scratch. I'm going to show you how we can do this a lot faster and a lot more seamlessly with the Locofy plugin. So going to go ahead and open the command bar over here, search for Locofy. So this is a plugin that lives inside of Figma. So there's nothing to download, nothing to install. All you need to do is open up your plugins menu and search for Locofy, and you can start running it. So the plugin is now launched. It's over here. The first thing I would need to do is to create a new project in Locofy. So let's go ahead and click on Create New. I can name my project, select my team, and like what Honey mentioned just now, you can choose from a whole bunch of different frameworks to convert your designs into code. For mobile, we support React Native. We do have Flutter, Jetpack Compose, and Swift UI all coming in the next few months. For web, we have React, HTML, Nix, Gatsby, Vue, and Angular. Obviously, this is a website, so I'm going to go ahead and click on React just because that's the most popular one. The next step in the project creation phase is to configure your code settings. So if you're familiar with code at all, there are a few ways to generate the code, TypeScript versus JavaScript. In terms of styling, the default is CSS modules, but we do support other things like Tailwind, Sass, and Sass modules as well. For now, I'm going to go ahead with the default settings, but I'm going to show you how you can change these settings even after the code has been generated. So for now, default settings, click on Create Project. The next step and the last step in the project creation phase is to connect your component library. So if you guys are currently working with an existing design system and your engineers have already written the code for your components, you can actually import those code components into Locofy with any of these 3 methods using CLI, GitHub, or even Storybook. If you guys import the code, Locofy will actually reuse the code you've already written instead of generating new code for your components. If you don't have a design system, you can actually select a popular UI library that we've already integrated with. So anything from like Material and Bootstrap or Chakra. For now, I'm going to go ahead with material just because that's also the most popular one. Okay, so my project is now created. The next step is now to convert my designs into code. So I've got my 4 frames over here. I'm going to go ahead and just click on the home page, and let's see what happens when I click on convert to code. So instantly, our AI is able to pick up all the prototype links and actions that you've already set up, right? So like I mentioned just now, this card is linked to this page, and this is also linked to all these other pages over here. So they're all interconnected somehow. And our AI was able to pick up that, hey, you've only clicked on the home page, but that home page is connected to 3 other frames. Do you want to convert all that into code as well? I'm going to go ahead and click on yes. What is happening now is that we're running some pre-checks on your design. This means that we're looking for custom fonts. We're looking for any layers that you've previously edited. We're also looking for any breakpoint frames. So if you have designed for multiple breakpoints, we can also merge all those designs into one single frame. And what's happening now is that our AI that has been trained on millions of designs is actually optimizing your design by doing things like applying auto layout, constraints. It's also automatically tagging any interactive elements that you may have. So things like the text input over here, the date pickers, all these are currently static in Figma, obviously, but our AI is going to tag these as interactive elements and make them fully interactive. So after about 10, 15 seconds, you'll see all the code has been generated down here. All right, this is all my React code. It is very developer friendly, fully semantic. You'll see all your component files up here. So you've got your property details page, your sign up page, sign in page, your header component, your container component, all here, all developer friendly. On the right panel over here, you'll see all the CSS styling code. And on the bottom right over here, there's a little button where you can once again configure your code setting. So if you remember when we set up the project in the beginning, we chose TypeScript and CSS modules, but if for some reason I wanted to change it into Tailwind, you'll see that the code instantly regenerates on the fly into Tailwind code over here. Okay, so that's all the code. This code is not going to be perfect, and we don't claim it's going to be perfect. If you look into it, if your engineers take a look at it, there's going to be some optimizations that they can make. They may even spot some bugs. But that's AI, and we don't claim our AI to be perfect either. What we do claim is that we do about 70 to 80 to 90% of the work for you. You still need a front-end engineer to come in to bring that to 100% and make it production ready. So that's all the code. What you might have noticed just above the code is this live prototype over here. So this live prototype is very different from your typical Figma prototype. Figma prototypes are static, they're not really responsive, whereas this is fully interactive and fully responsive. So things like the text inputs, I can actually start typing in. The date pickers work as well. And buttons have some sort of click interaction. And it is fully responsive. So if I reduce the viewport width over here, you'll see that everything is collapsing and stacking very nicely. And if I show you the Figma design one more time, you'll see that I've only designed 4 frames and they're all for desktop, right? If I zoom out in the canvas, you'll see that there's nothing else in my canvas. It's only these 4 desktop frames, but yet Locofy was able to automatically make that fully responsive. And the reason for that is because we have applied auto layout to almost every single layer in our design. So Locofy was able to read that data and make it fully responsive. The how responsive the actual result is really depends on your design structure. So we always recommend people and users to follow Figma's best practices, apply auto layout and your constraints and your max widths, min widths as much as possible to almost every single layer. The more you do that, the better the code that you generate and the better the prototype that you're able to experience as well. Okay, so that is the responsiveness. One other thing was prototype actions and links. So if you remember again, this first card actually links to that second page over here. And let's see if that works in Locofy as well. So if I click on this, you'll see that it links to the sub page as well. Okay, so this is Locofy preview. This is really where you check out the code, see if it looks good, check out the prototype, see if it's interactive, see if it's responding well. The next step over here is to go into Locofy's edit mode. So like I mentioned just now, no AI is perfect, and we don't claim to be either. We do give you an edit mode to make any further optimizations or edits to the code or to the preview that you may want to do. So I'm currently in the edit mode, and you'll see on the left, these were all the AI decisions that we were making in those 10 to 15 seconds when we were converting your designs into code. So I'll run through them pretty quickly. So the first thing over here is tagging. So like I mentioned just now, we're tagging any interactive elements in your design. So things like the text input, the date pickers. We were able to automatically detect that these were text inputs and date pickers and apply the correct HTML semantic tags to make them interactive. We also do things, like I mentioned, apply auto layout to your design. So obviously, we recommend you to apply auto layout yourself as much as possible. But in the event that you do not, we also try our best effort to do it for you as well. Components and props. So this one's pretty cool. Our AI is also able to detect any components that are found in your design. So things like the footer down here, this is obviously a component. Header is a component as well. We have your hero container up here and your listing item. So listing item over here just means all the 16 or so cards in this grid. You know, they look exactly the same. They just have different properties. So we were able to detect them as a component. And if I just move the plugin away for now and show you the card in the design, you can see in the layer panel over here, all these listing items are not actually defined as a Figma component. You know, all Figma components have that purple icon on the left, but we didn't manually define that in Figma, but yet our AI was able to automatically detect that as, you know, this should be a component. And what we've done is that we've actually written the code for this component and reused the code 16 times. So it makes the code base a lot cleaner, a lot more seamless as well. So let's click into this listing item component for a bit. And we'll see that Locofy has also picked up all the different properties, everything from a value prop to a style prop to conditional props were all picked up. So things like the title, the rating, the price have all been turned into components. So it's really easy for you to plug in your APIs and populate this with your dynamic data. Okay, so that's components and props. We also have layer names over here. So if you're a lazy designer like me, a lot of my frame names are like frame 1, 2, 3. You know, not really helpful, not really contextual. What Locofy does is we read your layers and we actually provide and recommend more contextual layer names so that it's more useful for you and your developers. But yeah, that's pretty much Locofy's edit mode over here. What I wanted to show you guys next was the components, like I mentioned just now. When you're creating a new project, you are able to import your custom components and your code components into Locofy for you to reuse them. I wanted to show you guys a quick demo of how that worked as well. So just to recap, there are 3 ways to import your code components into Locofy: CLI, GitHub, Storybook. CLI is the most mature solution that we have. There's some boring code setup that you have to do to set up the CLI, but I'm going to skip ahead and show you how that would look like after the whole boring code setup. So this is another design that I have on my Figma. It kind of looks like a Fiverr website. You've got a list of freelancers offering jobs, also has like a grid of cards down here. And just above this design, you'll see that I have a whole bunch of components over here that I have defined. So I've got my header, a footer, some buttons, the card in the grid that I showed you just now. These are all components that I have already defined and created in Figma. Not only that, but my developer has also written the code for all these components. So what happens is that when I click on this button here, Locofy is actually mapping automatically all the code components that I have imported into Locofy with all my Figma components. So for example, let's take maybe this header over here. So on the left column, this is the code that I've actually written myself already. And on the right, this is the Figma component that Locofy was automatically able to detect and map. So now that I've written the code and imported it into Locofy, we'll actually be reusing that code for your header instead of generating new code for it. Okay, so that is custom components and how you can import your design system into Locofy. The next thing I wanted to show you, let's go back to the first website over here. The next thing I wanted to show you was once you have successfully generated all the code and you're really happy with it, the next step would be to either sync it to GitHub into your existing repo or sync it to the Locofy builder. So I'm gonna show you guys what the Locofy builder looks like. I just have to reshare my screen over here. Okay, so once all that is done, all that code is now synced to the Locofy builder. So the Locofy builder is outside of Figma. It's a web app. And this is how it looks like. This is essentially almost exactly what you've seen in the Locofy plugin. You've got your live prototype up here, all the React code still down here. You can still configure your code settings up here as well. But what you can do in the Locofy builder is to now bring your prototype and your code to the next level. So there's a whole bunch of things you can do here. You can check out your file structure. You've got all your source files here, all your assets in the public folder over here. What is more interesting is view prototype. So with this prototype that Locofy has generated, it's fully interactive, fully responsive. You can now actually create a public link for this prototype and share it with your clients, any of your stakeholders. This is a public link, so they don't need a Locofy account. Once you copy and send this to them, they'll be able to play around with this exact same prototype. So it's a great way to get, further alignment and more buy-in with your team. Okay, so that is the prototype. The very last thing to do, once everything looks good, prototype looks good, code looks good, you then want to do this. You can either sync your code with your GitHub repo, you can pull it into VS Code, you can even export it as an entire zip file if you wanted to, or deploy it to any one of these options. Yep, that's all I had. Let's go ahead into this last slide in our deck over here. Okay, yeah, so that was it. We do have an annual, we do have a promotion going on right now. We actually just got out of our free beta that has been running for the past 3.5 years and very recently launched our pricing plans. So we do have a special promo code for you guys, GoLocal15. This gives you 15% off any of our annual plans. And if you are a student, we're giving you an extra 1,000 LDM tokens. So tokens are just our way of pricing. It's very similar to like LLM tokens. For every layer in a Figma design, that equals to 1 LDM token. So 1,000 free LDM tokens gives you about, it's good enough for about 4 to 5 pages to convert into code. Yep, that's all I had. The Slido QR code and link is here still, so feel free to scan that, ask any questions that you may have. And I'm gonna jump into the Slido link right now to see if there's any questions.
I
We
believe.
can go with the.
Go ahead, honey.
No, sorry, go for it, Reony. I can wait for a bit.
Oh, no, you go for it. I was going to say, it looks like someone answered the auto layout question, but maybe that was you. You can touch on that.
Yeah, I can touch on that. And that's a excellent observation because let me just give you the context. Auto layout is not really needed. Our AI will try to group your layers and apply auto layout. But over the years of running the program in free beta for almost 3.5 years, we realized that our users or customers who applied auto layouts and grouping and constraints properly got significantly better results from Locofy. And we tried to, in the early days, we were helping our users over Discord, and we realized rather than helping them with Locofy, 30 to 40% of our time was actually spent on helping them structure their designs. So we are solving this problem in 2 or 3 ways. As much as we recommend our users to apply auto layout and design structure properly, we are working on improving our AI to do that for you automatically. And we've made some progress in that area. We're even partnering with Figma in some of these areas. But also, we have a lot of documentation and workshops and training if you're interested in just learning how to do that in the first place. But if you invest into design to code solutions, whether it's Locofy, whether it's anything else, design structure and especially auto layout and grouping, more importantly, will decide whether it saves you 80% of your time in building your products or 40 to 50%. So yeah, we highly recommend it. We have a lot of tutorials. We even go in for a week with some of our larger enterprise customers to do exactly this. And I do believe Figma has also, we've partnered with Figma quite a bit on the product side. I know recently they launched something called Suggest Auto Layout. We might be partnering with them in that space as well down the line to help you, not just in the code generation, but also, what happens before that, basically.
Oh, we got some others coming in.
Yeah, nice.
I'll let you go through them. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. The second one is how much is Locofy normally? That's from you, Reony. So as Mark said, for 3.5 years we were in free beta, and to use the product in free beta, you had to give feedback to us every 3 weeks. The product would get locked. We realize engineers and designers don't like to get on a call very easily. Neither would we. So we built a system where every 3 weeks the product would get locked, and to unlock it, you had to fill up a form or get on a call with us. Everyone obviously preferred to fill up a form. We recently came out of that free beta after we were convinced we were, starting to see some product market fit. The price goes all the way from very flexible pay as you go, where for every screen you convert, we calculate the number of, design nodes, Figma nodes, and tokens, and give you the price. Or you can get annual plans from $250 to $1,000 a year. The higher you go, the cheaper the per token price gets to. I think roughly you could get from $10 to $30 per screen converted. The more the complications, nested components, for example, the more complicated or the longer your pages are, it could be more into the $25 to $30, roughly speaking. Or you could be on an enterprise plan where we go even with like unlimited seats, unlimited tokens, unlimited screens, unlimited projects. We can customize it based on our customers' needs, basically. But you do not need a dev mode seat, and we do not charge you per seat, because we believe that AI, especially our AI, should only cost you something when it actually does something for you, and it doesn't need to be charged per seat or per project. The next question is, we mentioned AI was trained on millions of designs. Can you elaborate more? Yeah, amazing question. So we went with the public, websites route. We went with like Figma designs. We actually, our CTO, my co-founder and CTO, he wrote a script. So our designers came up with template designs, and our engineers came up with scripts to, automate designs from those design layers. So we ran like multiple variations. Anything that was dynamic in the design, we changed that, and we basically produced more and more designs. So started with, I think, if I'm not wrong, 50 plus design files that we built from scratch, and then we ran scripts to make like 5,000 variations of it. We scraped obviously all the data that we could scrape as well, converted it back like HTML data back to a design file that we built our own converters for, and then trained our designs, trained our models again on those designs. We do not train any models based on our customer designs. It's very clear in our privacy policy and terms and conditions. Our test data set and our training data set versus customer data set are completely different. We do not even have access to your code that we generate. We only have access to your Figma data and our AI decisions. The code generation actually happens on the fly on the browser itself without ever hitting our servers. Cool. Are you? Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, I want to be conscious of time. Not that we're rushing, but maybe start with a couple more. Also, there's a few that were voted on. So anyone here, if you're really interested in getting to one of the questions, make sure to go and upvote those. So yeah, let's start from those first two.
Yeah. Oh, I think something got bumped up. How much effort is to retrofit Locofy onto an existing? Yeah. So this is a slightly difficult question to answer. What we do provide you is a way to import your storybook, components and reuse them. So the way it works, I don't know if Mark got a chance to do that. CLI is our most preferred way, but with Storybook, we provided you an add-on which lets you import your existing Storybook components, and we map it back to your Figma design files. And then every time you run Locofy on, let's say, a design file that has some existing components or some new components, we're able to reuse your compiled code in the cases where it's already pre-built and it already exists into your Storybook. And in the cases it doesn't, we give you the UI code. Now, we allow you to push your new components that you build with Locofy onto Storybook, but it doesn't have the logic. It doesn't have, so it requires some work to go from the UI code that Locofy produces to making it a fully functional component and then push it onto Storybook. While we do provide a direct integration, it is incomplete in my opinion. We will be working more with Storybook to make it more of a simpler process. But at the end of the day, we still save you the time of building that component from scratch, even if it's for UI at the moment. We do have some things on our roadmap that will help you. For example, you have, let's say, a tab gallery. Locofy produces the UI code, and with a simple prompt, we will let you convert it into an actual tab gallery itself. And that's something that we are launching in January or February. But before that, we're fully focused on the UI part itself. And it does require, that's why we've been saying that it does require engineers and designers to use Locofy and to really help you save some time. So no coders would not see value with Locofy. Yeah. Hopefully that answers that question. I think I already answered the AI training of the data set itself. Does Locofy provide a way to password protect the prototype share link? Currently, the prototype that is shared is public, but we can very easily add the password protect if our users require us to do that. That's super easy to do, yeah. And we have gotten that feedback before, so it is on the roadmap. It just hasn't been bumped up, but we can always do that, yeah. Maybe I can take another question, Reony, if you have
one more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How does are users able to build? Oh yeah, this one we already took, I think. Oh no, maybe you're not. Sorry. Yeah, you are able to build fully functional prototypes. I'm really sorry, guys. We woke up quite early in the morning, so haven't had the morning coffee. But yeah, you are able to build fully functional prototypes. I think the difference between the prototype you get off Figma versus Locofy is that the prototype you get on Locofy runs on the code itself. So you're able to not just interact with it, it will be responsive, and you are able to get an idea of what that final product will look like. And you can share it to your stakeholders or internal purposes for them to not just view the prototype, but for an engineering audience, even to review the code itself. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Much respect for getting up this early and doing this.
No problems. We're lucky,
lucky
to be here.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, we can close Q&A, but let's give them a round of applause, everyone. Thank you. Super exciting stuff. I do want to mention, I forgot to mention, there's a quick giveaway that I can do right now. So I'll take over screen sharing. I have one for virtual folks. Virtual folks are still on, and then I have one for here with some exclusive items from the Figma shop. So Let me screen share really quick so everyone can see it. Cool. All right. This is for in person. Not everyone. Oh, what happened? There we go. Wrong window. Okay. This is for in person. Nope. I don't think Christine made it, right? No, she's not here. All right. Next person. Too bad. Might not want to look at that for too long. Oh, Harmit. Hey, congrats. So yeah, get with one of us. We'll let you pick a couple things. All right, that's that. And let me go to virtual folks. For virtual folks, if you get picked, I'll see the name or please message us and I'll send you that link to the gift code. Kavi, are they on? Oh, actually, I gotta check Zoom. There's a multitask here. Or is Nick and Zosha, can you all see if they're on? Kavi, not on. Okay, I got it up. Let's try again. I'm gonna hide that one. Yeah. We got Marnia. Oh, there's only Marnia and that's it. Yeah, I'm just gonna say, Marnia, if you're there and you can hear us, you get it for sticking around. So yeah, just message me or if you're on Slack or through the contact form, but I'll remember your name. Let me take a quick screenshot as well. Cool. All right. Well, that's basically it. We can hang out a little more, but we have until 8:30. And yeah, thanks for coming, everybody. Really appreciate it.